Hello, hello, welcome back. Yes, we're back to deal with monsters, more monsters, mummies. Not your mummy, somebody else's mummy, and not the mummy that you were thinking of because, yes, this is a wrapped mummy. Stat blocks, monsters, Dungeons and Dragons 5e. Takes a little while, we get around to these sorts of things, and the Mummy Lord, I've run the Mummy Lord a few times. I'm going to put up a poll, so feel free to take part in that poll. I honestly find that the Mummy is a really lackluster monster in Dungeons and Dragons 5e, which is really unfortunate because it shouldn't be that way, but it is. And so we're going to try to rectify that today. I'll put up this poll, and like always, I'm going to suggest grab some food and drink and make sure you're comfortable, and we're going to get straight into this, okay? All right, cool. Let's make this happen. Whoa. Oh, that's the wrong button. Let's try again. Hi, welcome to How to RPG. My name is Fred Weller, and today I want to talk about tabletop role-playing games, Dungeons and Dragons 5e specifically, a monster, the Mummy Lord, a really important monster, and frankly, I think that 5e's monster stat block does not do it justice. I have run a few mummies now over the last 10 or so years, and I've also run the Mummy Lord multiple times, and it's always a disaster. So let's see if we can fix that. I would give you an idea that generally when you're facing the Mummy Lord, my characters who are playing the game, they usually wipe it out before the end of the first round. It's usually dead. I may not even get to the last person. If there's 5 players or 6, but certainly if there were more, I would never get to the bottom of the initiative. Just because mummies are vulnerable to fire. And almost every player knows this, whether they acknowledge that their characters know this or as a player they know this. It's wrapped in things, it makes logical sense. Use fire, it's dead. And it just, being vulnerable to fire damage is a huge problem. It really just, it should have a sign. The Mummy Lord and all mummies should have a sign on their chest that says, flammable, please do not light me on fire. That should just be written on the chest, because that's exactly what's going to happen every single time. Hi, Fred Huber, Dungeons and Chronics. Fred Huber is a patron, and we've got John here. Hello, how are you? So, I've got a stat block. I've done a little bit of preemptive work on it. I'm going to follow the chat with this, and I'm going to go through sort of the maths and how I would approach the Mummy Lord to improve it so that you can get a bit more leverage out of this thing, because major monsters should have an effect, right? You want them to do something cool, and if they don't, that's a problem. So let's have a look at what I have. I have a pre-set up Google document, which I will share with you. I'm going to be fairly quick in terms of going through this. I don't want to spend too long on it if I can help it, but this has always been the case. I always say I'm going to spend as little time as I can, but this is a really complicated monster, far too complicated for what it should be. The hat comes off. All right, let's do this. So let's do a breakdown of what level first it is, and then where we should be sitting with it with regard to what we're doing. So the challenge rating is a challenge rating 15. Now what that really means is that our players should be at least level 15 for it to be a challenge for them, okay? If they are a lower level, it's going to be harder for them, and if they're a higher level, it's going to be easier for them. But when you think about it, characters being level 15, how many times have your players faced this thing and they have not been level 15? And yes, it's a challenge rating 15. We're not changing the challenge rating. We're just going to make sure the maths lines up. So the proficiency bonus at +5 is correct. And if you think in terms of a level 15 character, you'll find that generally lines up. Sometimes it doesn't, but in this case, I'm pretty sure that it does. So we're pretty much all good with that. And yes, that's right. So that's cool. And then moving on to the next sort of major numbers that we need to consider, since we're dealing with 15. An 18 is what is considered to be a decent armor class for a challenge rating 15. So you can go one point up or 1 point down with your monster, whatever you do. Now, the problem with going down is I always recommend you're better to stay where you are and go up when you're dealing with high-level characters. It's all right to go up and down when you're at lower levels because, you know, the survivability of the player characters at lower level is not, and their power output is not as great. But at higher level, it's just off the charts. It's very hard to do very much of anything. Samey Razor. Hello, is it Samey Razor? I'm just looking at the chat now. And what do you got here? If the Mummy Lord crits, the PCs lose a random limb to mummy rot. Ah, dear. All right. So that's pretty brutal. Let's just deal with the numbers. So since it starts off at a 17, I wouldn't do that. Frankly, I know it's wrapped in bandages, but it's a magical thing. It's a magical undead. So either leave it at 18 or push it to 19. I don't think there's any good reason to push it to 19 because unless we cover this thing that's wrapped in bandages with armor, that would make no sense. So we're not going to put 17. Okay, we're going to put 18. So whatever natural armor, it really needs to be indicated that it's magical natural armor. Okay, magical natural armor. No, magical armor. Let's just put magical bandages. Magical bandage armor. Let's make it that. That simplifies the fact. We know those magical bandages, they're magical. Okay? They're a big deal. They do a lot of things. So let's just put that in there. Make it clear. All right, next. Hit points. How many hit points should we have? Now the average is 97. 97 when the players are a challenge rating, you know, if challenge rating 15 monster and they're level 15, 97 hit points is how many hit points the rogue can inflict on this thing, and probably more. They can probably do a lot more than that and kill it outright in one blow. And then the rest of the players won't get to do anything. It is possible for a paladin to smite it and pretty much take it out. So there's a problem. This is like a one-hit wonder. We should really be hitting between 281 and 295 hit points on average. Now the average for this is only 143 hit points. And a challenge rating of 15 with player characters who are about level 15 means that this thing cannot last to the end of one round. So that means that this business here will not work. It's simply impractical. It doesn't work. So let's go to our calculator and let's just have a quick look at how we can recalculate our hit points, because we can't do this to our mummy. That would just be ridiculous. There's no point even putting a mummy in the game, frankly. I wouldn't even bother. So let's have a look. 8, I think it's 4.5, isn't it, the average? 4.5, you multiply that by 13 equals this, and then you add 39, is that right? 39? No, that my maths is off there. What am I doing here? It's an 8-sided dice. Is it a 5? 5 times 13. Is that what's going on here? Have I got them? Is the calc formula correct? Yeah, there's something weird going on here. Something really, really strange. Okay, let's see if I get this right this time. Equals that plus 39 equals. Jeez Louise. Okay, so that number's going to be really, really low. There's no way we can do that. This is quite ridiculous. So, I mean, we could stay with the 8-sided dice, but I think we need to do something about that problem there. I'm pretty sure that an 8-sided dice it's 4.5. So that means, really, that means that we need to do something a little bit more impressive to make this work. Even if I double it, it may not even, I don't even think that's going to be enough. I can't change the 39 because that's calculated based off its level and its con modifier, which is fine. I have no problem with that. So we now have to look at how can we push up our hit points to a decent number so that it will get to round 2 and possibly round 3 if we're lucky. Yeah, 26. Yeah, I think that's, what do you got here? There's a few suggestions coming through. So Fred Huber's got here, shouldn't CR15 be a 15th level spellcaster instead of a 10th level? Yeah, well, that's another thing. I know what you're saying there. I get what you mean, and I tend to agree. Let the Mummy Lord impose save against a party spellcaster. If the spellcaster fails, the mummy cast spells using their spell slots. We're going to give the Mummy Lord a lot of spell slots. It won't matter. So you've suggested 26 D8 is going to be only, yeah. It's not a lot, is it? It's quite low. Plus 78. You reckon that would be hitting our range? Because our range needs to be 281 to 295. That's a lot of hit points. And I don't feel like an 8-sided dice is going to do that. But I get where they're coming from. They're like, okay, this is like the apex cleric spellcaster. When you think about it, right? It's an apex level spellcaster, and druids have a D8, and so they're also basing it off the cleric. I think who has a D8 as well. But I think we would have to have so many D8s to make this work. Yes, Murray Shack, you did. Well done. I think the Mummy Lord, being a legendary monster, should have a terrifying ability that will give players nightmares. Legendary action mummy curse ability, letting them stack multiple curses. Oh, you're a ruthless person. You're in the right place. Bad touch. Yeah, we'll deal with damage in a second. I don't know that I like instant death from my mummy as a concept. So yeah, let me just think just quickly about how this is going to work, because no matter how I go about doing this, whether I use an 8-sided dice, I would have to use so many to be able to get the number where we need it to be. So like 4.5. So if we're going for the max, let's measure it in terms of the maximum that you could do. 8 times, say, 26, as Fred Huber has suggested, would come to 208. Then we add on 39 plus 39 equals 247. That's still way below where we need to be if we want them to be around for any length of time. So, and damage immunity is one thing, but damage vulnerability, even if we get rid of damage vulnerability to a Mummy Lord, I'm not suggesting that we do, it still doesn't solve our problem. So 26 is not enough. We could go 8 times 30. That would give us that number. Then if we add 39, we come to 279. That's certainly closer to where we need to be. We're almost spot on. I would say we're like 2 hit points below that threshold. So let's just make it 31. I think that's the solution. So if we go 31 multiplied by 8 equals that. Add the 39. And we're now 287. 287. We're right between 281 and 295. So there it is. That seems to be I think that's the solution. Is going to be 31 of these little suckers. So we'll keep the D8. You wouldn't roll all those dice anyway, people. That would be silly. Don't be silly. So that's that one. Let's make sure I've done that correctly. So 8 times 31 equals that. Add the 39 equals that. I'm happy with that. That's a much better number. 287. Which means we have to change the average, don't we? Because the average will be different. So let's get rid of that as an average. Bring this back. And take our formula, which is now going to be 4.5, since that's the average of 8, multiplied by 31, equals this. And then we add the 39. And we get 278.5. Okay, so 278. That's better. No, 178, sorry. 178. 178. Okay, that's our average. Our speed, I'm happy for the mummy to be a slow-moving creature or monster. Okay, That's fine. We don't have to turn it into a is it Left 4 Dead or whatever it is, rushing zombie that, you know, we don't have to running everybody really fast. We don't have to do that. Not necessarily. Okay, next, moving down the list, things we need to deal with. Ability score improvements. Okay, so our ability scores. Our spell casting is based off our wisdom. And honestly, this monster is obviously quite strong. It's slow, but it also has really good spell casting abilities. For this monster to have an 18 in wisdom, since that's what we're basing our spell casting off, I don't think that's a smart idea, because your players at level 15, they've maxed out to 20. So this monster is actually hitting below their belt quite significantly. And monsters have a range, they can go up as high as 30. Now, we don't have to do that with a mummy, but I think this needs to be a 20. I was thinking about it the other day, and the more I think about it, it's going to be a 20. Now, we could give it other things like magic items to push that higher, but let's just say it's 20, which means we're going to get a +5. That means making some adjustments here. Our modifier for this is now proficiency bonus is 5, and 5, and that's a 10 for our saving throw, which it should be. Our intelligence modifier is quite low. So I'm going to ask you a question in chat. I'm going to go to chat in a second, and I'm going to ask you what you think we should be doing with the ability scores. If you think that some of these things should be going up or down, by all means, let me know. Okay? My view is I don't want to change too many of the ability scores unless it's absolutely necessary. Otherwise, it's getting a bit silly. So let's have a look and see what you have to say. And then I will go back to work and come back to your comments. The point of using the player slots is for fear factor, because it's something that in the game is seemingly untouchable. I suppose I see where you're going with this. I don't think it needs to have 500, because there's other things we can do to negate the fact that it would be taking damage. And action economy is always a big factor, right? Well, yes, that's true. They're going to have access to reincarnate, raise dead, and revivify at level 15. You're correct. So 5e is balanced well for instant death mechanics at high level. Well, I wouldn't say it's balanced, but you don't have to really worry about it, frankly. So yeah, I get what you're saying here. I don't want to give it 500 hit points if I can help it. It's got close to 300. That's enough. It's just a timer. What we need to do with our mummy is inflict enough pain and terror on them before things get out of hand. Let it steal ability score points. Oh my god. Okay, let's just go here. Sammy and Fred Huber, you guys, I feel like you come from the same cloth. You're on the same journey right now. But anyway, for those of you who are wondering, what are we doing about the fire vulnerability? Ring of fire resistance, people. Ring of fire resistance. We're going to have to do it. Otherwise, that's the first thing they target. What about a mummy? Something like reckless attack. We'll get there. We'll get there. So what should a mummy lord's ability scores be? And I will ask you that question. We did something with the Lich where we gave it a magic item that helped protect its most vulnerable aspects. Okay, and we kind of have to do the same thing here. A rod of rulership for the mummy. Oh. I think a ring of fire resistance is definitely on the cards for me. That's where my head is at with this. But anyway, let's keep going. I want to keep moving along as fast as I can. You guys keep throwing your ideas out, and I will keep responding. Okay, next, Mummy Lord has, as we go down here, some saving throws. Con, intelligence, no dexterity saving throw. So that's the first thing that players are going to target is the dexterity saving throw. Not a good thing, and it's very, very low. It's very weak at it. It probably should have one if we seriously think that it's going to have any chance of succeeding on anything. The int one is also very slow, very, very low. Int is very, very low. Wisdom is good. Charisma is good. Constitution is good. But it's got, the Mummy Lord, it's got 3 glaring weaknesses in terms of saving throws. So when you're casting a spell, your players are going to use a strength saving throw, a dexterity saving throw, which are very common, okay, or an intelligence saving throw, not so common. But dexterity is way up the top there. And it's got 3 of them out of the 6 saving throws. It's got 3 that actually, stand out the most. That's an issue. Okay. So we're going to come back to this. I'm going to highlight this because I suspect we're going to change some of these numbers anyway with regard to the stats. Okay. I would prefer to have a dex saving throw of at least a +5. Rather than, and not, have a dex saving throw as a proficiency rather than not, because it's just making it way too weak as a creature. All right, next, history, religion, we'll come back to them again, because if we change numbers, that's going to change as well. If there's other skills you think they should have, by all means put them forward. I have no issue with them having damage, vulnerability to fire. Okay, a normal mummy, yes. But we're dealing with a Mummy Lord or a greater mummy if you look at older versions like AD&D. And I do have the AD&D 2nd edition monster manual beside me. Necrotic damage, poison damage, all fine, damage immunities, bludgeoning, piercing and slashing from non-magical attacks. I'm fine with all of that. That's actually not an issue as far as I'm concerned. Okay. Condition immunities, charmed, exhausted, frightened, paralyzed, poisoned. Again, I don't think I have an issue with any of those. They don't sort of stand out and say to me, well, there's an issue there. Okay. So if we have to, I just want to go through the conditions very quickly and just see if there are any conditions that I've missed. If I've missed any damage immunities that you think they should have, but I think those ones are probably about it. I don't think there's anything else I need to add, but anyway. Moving through, where are we? To the back of the book. Where is the conditions? Conditions. Here we go. So conditions that we might want to add. Unconscious, no. Stunned. Well, we could put stunned, but again, the problem with stunned and stunning a Mummy Lord is it pretty much puts the monster out of commission for the whole round. Like, stunned creature is incapacitated, can't move, and can't speak. The creature automatically fails strength and dexterity saving throws, which is bad, right? And then attack rolls against the creature have advantage. So incapacitated basically means it can't do anything. Incapacitated, basically no actions, no reactions, nothing. So this is probably one we probably should add in, because what's going to happen is a monk. If I was playing a monk, and I would often play a monk, I would just stun it, and it can't do anything anymore. So I'm going to add stunned. Sorry. But it's got to go. Restrained. I don't think we need to include restrained because I want them to be able to restrain the creature in some way. That's a good thing. Knocking it prone makes sense. That's all fine. Poison, not really. It's already dead. Petrified, yes. I think petrified we keep. I think that's something that's a good idea. It's certainly transformative magic in some way, but I think it lines up pretty well. Paralyzed, I'm happy to retain. Just don't worry about invisibility. Incapacitated, absolutely not including that. Grappled, fine, let them grapple it. Frightened, yes, it should be there. Deafening it, I don't know that charmed is already on the list. Exhaustion is not is on the list already, and blind. I don't think it looks with its eyes anymore, so I don't think we need to really worry about being blind and deafened. And frankly, I think maybe that's an awfully awkward one, because it's obviously its vision is not really dark vision. This dark vision of 60 feet makes no sense to me, because it doesn't have eyeballs anymore. It doesn't really have it. However it detects you and sees you or hears you, it's magical in nature now. So, but you are using magic against magic. I don't know that I necessarily want to include blinded and deafened. I think maybe we'll leave them alone, but we will change its vision. And I did include a blind sight to 120 feet. And there's a reason why I thought that was appropriate. I think primarily because, oh, hang on, wisdom. Yeah, so this passive perception is now 15. Okay, primarily because it doesn't have eyeballs. If it doesn't have eyeballs, why would we mess around with this? Like this doesn't make any sense. They do this with monsters. It's like they give them dark vision. And like every race has dark vision of 60 feet. So if we're going to give something to this creature, we should be giving them more than 60 feet. They should be better at it than the player characters. I don't want them to be on par with them in terms of their vision. So I'm going to remove dark vision. Sorry, people, but I don't think it makes sense. With undead creatures, honestly, it doesn't make sense. Blind sight to 120 feet, I think that makes much more sense. Okay. All right, next, languages. The languages at New in Life. I'm fine with that. We just leave that it is. Most of that other stuff there, we've already talked about. Now, you'll notice that the original Mummy Lord, it's a legendary monster, but it's one of those stupid legendary monsters that doesn't have legendary resistance. In other words, it can't automatically save. Why have they done this? It's really strange. It's absolutely ludicrous that you might even consider leaving that off. Now, I don't want to give them 3 legendary actions because I know the players will count them down. I know that the common thing, Wizard of the Coast is going for 4 or 5 legendary resistances, not actions, legendary resistances. That, again, I think is a waste of time because they'll count them down. I want to be able to use it once per round. That means probably one of the spellcasters out of the 2 in your group are going to get through. If you have a larger group, you would have to have more legendary resistances available per round. I don't want to have a count off and say I have to. One of the things I've always found is tracking legendary resistance is a pain. Tracking anything with a monster this complicated, you have to count how many legendary actions you have, how many legendary resistances you've used. It's a pain in the butt. So I'm not doing that. Once per round, you can do it. You don't have to track it off and keep counting them up. You just need to know, okay, once per round I can use this thing. That's it. So that's how I'm going to structure it. Magic resistance, absolutely, should have that there. And Wizards of the Coast has included it. It's a magical spellcaster. Makes sense. Magical creature. It's undead, one of the most powerful out there. Great. Rejuvenation. Rejuvenation, real quick, let's have a look at this thing. A destroyed Mummy Lord gains a new body in 24 hours if its heart is intact, regaining all of its hit points and becoming active again. So in other words, when you kill this thing, you must remove the heart. And I'm fine with that. Okay? That's all good, provided the players actually do it. The new body appears within 5 feet of the Mummy Lord's heart. So really, it's the heart of the Mummy Lord that's important. So I'm fine with this. Let's just leave that as is. That sounds all good to me. But now we come to a 10th level spellcaster. And as Fred Huber has pointed out, why the heck is a challenge rating 15 monster only a spellcaster at level 10? So that means when the players are level 15 facing this monster, which is CR 15, their spellcasting is better than the mummy's spellcasting. Bollocks. Bollocks to that. Not going to do that. So we're going to change this. It's level 15. We put it on par at least. If it's not 15, it should be higher, frankly. It is a boss monster, it's Mummy Lord. So either 15 or 16. It needs to be in that realm. And do I want to push it higher than that? The problem is I don't want to change the challenge rating. I just want to adjust it so where it should be. A lot of these monsters, frankly, when I was playtesting them for the beta test, but then the alpha playtest, felt like they were really deliberately made weak. Probably for a new group of people coming in to play the game, and they don't want to make the game too hard off the bat. So making it easier seemed like a sensible thing to do. I don't know that there's a huge benefit. I don't see much of a benefit by going from a level 15 to a level 16, other than getting another ability score improvement, which is actually just playing into, well, no, I think 15 will do fine. Wisdom, ability score, yep, that's cool, that's fine. This is your problem. Spell attacks Most spellcasters don't have a high attack bonus. So we have a 5 for our wisdom and a 5 for our proficiency bonus. So I'm saying at least a 10 should be there for the player characters. What does the Dungeon Master Guide say? Which, of course, that table's not super accurate. So it says to me that an attack roll for a challenge rating 15 monster should be an 8. Rubbish. Rubbish. Most player characters are at least, spellcasters, are hitting in the realm of a 10 at this point. They've probably got a 10. And if you're a martial, you've probably got magic weapons, so you're hitting even, your modifier is even higher. So we should have at least a 10 here. DCs. It says here the DC for a challenge rating 15 is supposed to be an 18, yet they've given it a 17. Probably because of the low wisdom. No, it needs to go up. And there should be at least an 18. Now, why? Player characters will have maxed out their main ability, so it'll be a 5 plus 5, and your proficiency bonus plus 5, that's 10, and then you add 8 is 18. So it should be 18. You can always go 1 point higher or lower, but with a monster like this, I would be tending to go higher rather than lower by 1 point. Not 2, not 3, but 1. So those are pretty standard for 15 characters of level 15. So we can go 18 or we can go 19. Now, I have always found that DCs and attack rolls at higher level with player characters are so much easier for them because they seem to have there's so many ways they can get advantage, a +1 or a +2 to an attack roll at range or up close. Spell casting, not so easy. So I'm going to be quite hard on them today. I'm going to push it up by +1 on both. Okay? That's where my head is at. Why? Mummies, magical. Magical bandages. Magical bandages, that's what it is. The Mummy Lord has the following cleric spells prepared. This is where we start to come adrift. And I'm going to go and have a look at that in a second. How am I doing for time? Okay, so we're halfway in. We need to get some of the maths done, so let's go back to our chat and see what you guys have been saying. And then I will transition over. We're going to get into the special abilities and the magic casting. Most of the spells that the Mummy Lord has they're not combat spells. They've given them spells that certainly make sense for a mummy, but why would they have those ones prepared? Anyway, let's have a look at what God, there's so much. You guys have got a lot to say today. Anyway, just saying the wrappings are magically fire resistant, but unwrapping it destroys the magic. Yep, you could do something like that. I think I don't want to make the wrappings magical, but I do want to give them a ring. I want them to be able to have something they can take with them. I have no issue with the players scoring a magic ring that gives them fire immunity, because it's a 1 immunity. And they're level 15. It doesn't matter. Hello, Jason Pewin. Pawned? Is it Jason Pawned? Hello, how are you? Make Whirlwind only 1 legendary action. Yes, Jason, but I'm going to do it a little bit differently to even that, because I have legendary actions. When I do them, they look very different to what Wizards of the Coast does. And I've tested this for 10 years now, and I know it works. But I have never got honestly, all the times I've used the Mummy Lord and adjusted it, still have not been able to keep it alive long enough. I think the only time I knew that I got somewhere was when I gave it a ring of fire immunity, and suddenly fire did nothing to it. Like a rat bite. Do you want to do a rat bite? Not if they make it cursed, somehow detrimental to the good characters and giving them rewards. Okay. Strength 20. Now, why 28? Expertise in athletics and is it plugism? The mummies cast fire, casts fist. Why a 28 on strength? I have this book, so when in doubt, I go back to the past, as a few of you may be aware. I always go back to the past. So we're going to have a look at this, but I don't want my mummy to be a fist-fighting entity. I want it to be a spellcaster. That's what I think it should be, right? So we're going to look at this in a second. You reckon just give the mummy immunity to fire? It can stand there laughing in the flames. No, I think it should be vulnerable, but I'm going to give it a ring of immunity and get the ring off, and then that would be the trick. Get the ring off its finger, or cut the hand off in some way, take it out, then it's suddenly going to be vulnerable, and that's where the players will have to think a little bit more. I think that's much more interesting. 8 punch attacks deliver saves versus mummy rot. You really want to rot them, don't you? I can see it vomiting out hordes of scarabs. You can give any legendary monster minions, swarms, insects, scarabs, but it won't make any difference. Spellcasters, an area effect spell, and they're gone. They're wiped out. You're thinking about an automation, physically overpowered, a wizard with colts. Okay. Which golem is heated by fire? Give him one of those and a minion. You two guys are talking about lieutenants and minions now. All boss level monsters need immunity to so Fred, you're absolutely Fred Huber's just said exactly where my head has been going for a while, and that is, and then we did this in 4E, and I think to a certain degree 3.5 kind of was like this, but not exactly. And that is, big level boss monsters, you should not be able to stun them. Okay, stunning a lower level monster, fine, but stunning a mummy lord or a Tarrasque, it's just not right. You might as well not even have the monster. If you've got a monk in the group, they're just going to stun everything. So just give them immunity to it. So Fred, I tend to agree with you. I know that's not necessarily going to be something that players will like to hear, but I really think you'll make life so much easier for you. What about immunity to being turned by a cleric? Yes, I believe that was a thing. You could never turn, was it a vampire? You couldn't turn a vampire, and you couldn't turn a mummy lord. I think that's part of AD&D. Fred Huber will let me know. Maybe there's a save for scarabs defenses. Oh my gosh, you guys really want to add some stuff. I just want to fix it. I don't want to rebuild the thing completely. I see what you're saying though. 5 players. You guys are off on a different tangent. My question was mostly ignored. Save the first legendary resistance for the turn undead. No, I think he's right. I think we need to include you're immune to being turned by the undead. Yeah, turn undead should not work on a mummy lord. Deals damage to undead. If it's an area effect, it should be immune to that. I have already cast Forbiddance on my Lear. Okay, all right. What else have we got here? I'm just trying to catch up with the chat. There's so much information here. Lord, a Munchkin power game of fun. Maybe it gets hurt by fire. All right, so you guys have got lots of ideas, and I'm trying to see which ones sort of stand out. Make a mummy monk wizard hybrid. Ah, dear. Multi-classed mummy into fighter. You think I'm going to make a class that is that? I like the Brendan Fraser, Dwayne Johnson movies and the Tom Cruise movie. Hello, Negative Space. How are you? Yeah, Legendary Resistance is a must. Okay. So, let's go back to next question. What saves? No, I'm not even going to ask you that question because I think we've established that there's obviously some problems. So here is where I'm going to ask you. Let's go and ask you the spell question. If we've got a 15th level mummy lord that casts spells, what spells should it have ready to go? Okay, that's what we're going to do. What spells should a mummy lord have prepared? Okay, that is our question. That's my question to you. So I've got this book. I'm going to open it and I'm going to look through it, and I'm looking at the greater mummy, not the other mummy that's in the page before it. I don't want to look at the mummy that's sort of the low end one. I want the high end stuff. So let's go here. Right, and we're ready. Okay, cool. Right over. So first off, I have a few problems with this. Charisma saving throw, fine. Wisdom saving throw, fine. Int saving throw, okay. We'll leave it as a low int creature. But I do not want to leave it as a low dex monster. Okay, so dex. Sorry, I'm giving them a saving throw for that. So I'm not going to increase the dexterity score or modifier. I'm just going to give it proficiency in that saving throw. +5. Okay? Because that's probably one of the most common things they're going to be hit with. In terms of history and religion, again, fine. Is there any other skills that would have? I think Fred Huber had suggested athletics. I don't feel like a mummy lord is that athletic, so I'm probably not going to do that, Fred. The next thing is, let's just unhighlight this. A strength saving throw is probably going to wind up being its lowest one. And I'm not too sure that I like that idea either. So a 4 to a saving throw on strength, I don't think that's such a good idea either. Where are we going to put this? We're going to go here, con strength. Okay, so I think does it go in the order? It does go in the order. So I go to cut, cut, cut. So it goes dex. Come on. Paste. And we might as well put the strength one in as well. What am I doing? It's in bold. Let's do that. +4. Oh, strength. Strength. Well, it's quite strong. I've put them right across the board, haven't I? Strength, saving throw. I'll think about that a bit more. This here, I don't think it really matters. So I'm just going to go there. And then moving down into the other things. Rejuvenation, we've done. Spell casting, we've done a bit of adjustment. You guys are working on your spells. I have no problem with Sacred Flame, but it's kind of like a pissy spell. We call it Sacred Mist, don't we? Thaumaturgy, like what are you going to do with Thaumaturgy? It's a crappy spell. It really is. It's not that good. What are you going to do with it in a battle? Command, yeah, maybe. Guiding Bolt's pretty shit as a spell. Shield of Faith is alright, but it's a defensive spell. Hold Person is alright if it can succeed. At level 15, the players are probably going to be able to shut that down every single time. Spiritual Weapon is not bad. Silence is a smart way to go. Animate Dead makes sense. Dispel Magic is good, but it doesn't even have Counterspell. The players have got Counterspell and it can't Counterspell. Really? I'm not even waiting for you. Counterspell. Counterspell should be there. Divination, it's a pretty... I don't like that spell very much. How useful is that in a battle? Guardian of Faith. Contagion, yes. Insect Plague, yes. Harm, yes. Now, we need to increase the number of spells we have access to. And I'm going to be going down into the attacks in a second. Oh, this is going to take me a long time. I can see it now. So if we are level 15, we need to have access to spells that go up to level 8. That sounds about right. Yeah. So there's going to be a few more spells to add in here. So we go here. Copy and increase. And that's a 7. 7 won't be harm though. Forget about harm. For those of you who like spell casting, this is your time. Get busy. Start coming up with some spells for certain levels. Give me the spell level of what they are, what you think they should have. Okay. And that's 8. I don't think it's going to be harm because it's not that spell. And then we just need to make sure we got our slots correct, which I think is... where are we? Where are we? So this is here. We should have 1, 1, 1, followed by 2, followed by 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, 3, yep, and then 4, and then we need to have at least, I mean, I suppose clerics only get 4 cantrips, but where's the other 2? At least have a few more that you can do. Plus 2 cantrips. Where's the other 2? Come on. Give us a bit more to play with. Okay, so that. We'll come back down to this in a second. Let's keep going. Okay, the mummy can use its dreadful glare and makes 1 attack with its rotting fists. This is where my problem starts to develop, because we have huge problems if this is your main thing you can do. What does dreadful glare do? Then we'll come back to rotting fist. Actually, I'm going to get rid of this. It's actually getting warm today. Or is it just my office? No, I think it's just a warm day today. Summon Swarm seems like a good idea. Yeah, when you're putting in your suggestions for spells, please give me the level, the spell level, so that I know where it would go. If you know what it is. If you don't know what it is, then I'll just have to figure it out. Dreadful Glare. The Mummy Lord targets 1 creature it can see within 60 feet of it. Really? Just one creature. If the target can see the Mummy Lord, it must succeed on a DC 16. Are you shitting me? That's all you want to give them? Didn't we just... That's even lower than the 17. I made it a 19. Should be at least an 18 or a 19 here. I think I have to make it a 19. There you go. 1 point above where it really should be. Throw against this magic or become frightened until the end of the mummy's next turn. If the target fails the saving throw by 5 or more, it is also paralyzed for the same duration. A target that succeeds on the saving throw is immune to the dreadful glare of all mummies and mummy lords for the next 24 hours. Has anybody noticed that there's a huge problem? Like the dragon's ability does not paralyze you, it just frightens you, but it affects everything within a specific range. And yet we haven't done that here. And they can do multiple attacks. This thing only gets 1 attack and can do that on its turn. Otherwise you might as well just cast spells, right? Well, I hate to say it, but the new monster manual is going to give dragons spells. So they're going to be casting spells as well. So, I don't think this is going to work. I think we're going to have to seriously reconsider Dreadful Glare. Dreadful Glare should be doing a lot more than this. If we think in terms of the effects of a dragon, and I would put a dragon and a mummy lord pretty close to each other. If we have a look at an adult black dragon, and you look at its fear ability, Frightful Presence, it's got a range, Frightful Presence, of 120 feet, and each creature of the dragon's choice. So why are we not expanding it? This is only 60 feet. The DC for the challenge rating 14 adult black dragon, they've got a 16 for the save. So it's quite a lot lower, but I think that's way too low for that creature in the first place. That should be at least an 18 on that stat block. But the problem is we're not affecting enough of them. And that needs to change. So we need to change this so it's targeting more than 1 creature. And then we've got to include some mummy rot blows. And one blow is probably nowhere near enough. We're going to have to do a lot more than this. So the Mummy Lord targets 1 creature. So no, we're not doing that. We're going to change it. Blight is 4th. Thank you. Blight's a good idea, by the way, Negative Space. Thank you for the suggestions. So here, each creature... Each creature that each creature the Mummy Lord can see within 60 feet of it. Okay, that's okay. And I think do we add in the choice thing, or we just it just works on everything. Each creature the Mummy Lord can see within 60 feet of it. Okay, if the targets can see the Mummy Lord, it must succeed on a DC 19 Wisdom saving throw against this magic, or become frightened until the end of the mummy's next turn. So that's just to its next turn. It's not an ongoing thing. I think the dragon's frightening presence goes on for 1 minute. This is just for one turn. If the target fails the saving throw by 5 or more, it is also paralyzed for the same duration. Okay, the target must succeed on the saving throw. Okay, so all the rest is fine. Although I'm tempted to move this to 1 minute as well. I'm going to highlight this. I might come back to that. Let me have a think more, a bigger think about this. The problem is level 15 characters are so resilient. Okay, next. Rotting Fists. How much damage does our Rotting Fist actually have to do? And what sort of modifier do we need to be hitting with? Chances are our Rotting Fists are not going to hit the melee characters. You're probably not going to connect with them with a +9. Most of the time you're going to need to roll better than an 11, probably even higher than that. I can see there's lots of suggestions going out. It's good. Okay. There's a few people unhappy. So we're dealing with I don't think an attack bonus of 8 makes any sense. A 9 is strength +4, proficiency, yes. It's punching, yeah. Okay, so I suppose we go with the 9. But we're not going to hit very often with this. It's very unlikely. But how much damage should we also be doing? Because if you look at this right now, you've also got a saving throw. If the target is a creature, it must succeed on a DC 16 Constitution saving throw or be cursed with Mummy Rot. The cursed target cannot regain hit points, and its hit point maximum decreases by 10, 3d6 for every 24 hours that elapses. If the curse reduces the target's hit points max to 0, the target dies and its body turns to dust. The curse lasts until removed by the remove curse spell or other magic. So remove curse is so easy to access at that level. More than likely you're going to have it gone. So it's really almost completely pointless to even be worrying about the mummy curse itself. The only time the mummy curse even comes into play is if you're dealing with one combat. The one combat, that's the only time it's really going to have anything going on. And its DC again is so low, it should be at least an 18, and I would say it would be smart if we just made it a 19. Okay, that's where my head would be going, is just to push it up another one. So I'm going to make it 19. But how much damage does it do? Plus 66 necrotic damage, which is 21 average, 14. So let's add all that up and see what we get in terms of damage that it's doing. Because it can't be that much. If you look at what's going on here, it's pretty small. So average 14 from that. If it hits, that is. Then we add 21 if it hits and works again. And then we add on this Mummy Rot. If that succeeds, it would get that as well. But that's not going to keep going for very long. It's like you got to wait 24 hours for it to sort of reduce hit points again. So it's only going to be coming in one more time. So 10, 35 and 10. So you may be 45 points worth of damage, provided you hit the target and they fail their Constitution saving throw. That's it. That's all the damage your Mummy Lord is doing. Which means it's ridiculous to even consider using the Mummy Rot Fists as a viable option, because spells would be better. Yep, Absolutely. So let's have a look. How much does the Dungeon Master table thing in here actually say? Again, it's not super accurate, but if we look at 15, it says the amount of damage we should do in a round. That's like for a single creature that isn't a, like a legendary monster. This is like a legendary monster, is 93 to 98 points of damage. 93 to 98 points of damage to actually be like a viable threat. There's a problem. So our fists are seriously underpowered. So how do we fix that? Do we just double all the dice in here? I suppose we could. But there's another thing that comes into play, and I think a lot of us forget this, is we've included 2 dice mechanics to deal with the rotting fists. And I know the going thing by Wizards of the Coast, which is, I frankly think the design team are foolish to do this, because it takes up way too much time, is to include an attack roll and a saving throw, when really we should be boiling it down to a single dice roll to determine everything. I know a lot of people won't agree with this, but frankly, I don't think there's any way your body should be able to resist the mummy rot from a mummy lord. There is no way there should be a constitution saving throw. If we're going to make them roll an attack roll, if the attack roll gets through, you've got it. So this will simplify the maths a little bit, make it a little bit easier to run, and it'll do a little bit more damage. So 66 plus 4, no. 3d6, now it's 66. So it's going up. So that will give us, if I clear this, so that's 3.5 plus 4. Okay, so clear that again, try it again. 3.5 multiplied by 3 plus 4 gave us the 14. Okay, so if we're doing that again and we go 6 times 3.5, which is the average, then we add 4, get our average at 25. 25 is better. 25. Let's hit with 25. Next, bludgeoning damage. Fine. Plus, it does necrotic damage. Oh, hang on. I've missed the necrotic damage, didn't I? So if I do the necrotic damage in this, plus 6d6 plus 21 equals that. And if we get the other lot of damage in on the saving throw, that's a big question mark whether that will actually happen. So that's a 10 more points. I think that's right. Plus 10. So 53. So that's probably nowhere near enough for where we need to be. So let's change this up. Let's just double the necrotic damage. 12 is now 6 is now 12. We'll change the average, okay, so that we're actually getting somewhere. The other choice is you can have multiple attacks with a mummy, but the reason why I don't like the idea of having too many attacks with a mummy is because you've got to track a lot more, you know. Although, when I think about it, maybe that's not a bad idea. Giving them 2 attacks with their rotting fists means there's a better chance we might actually get through. Let's do that. 2 attacks. 2 attacks. It makes 2 attacks with rotting fists. So that means we can tone down our damage output a little bit. How are we sitting? Well, we're punching above our weight division now. But if I pull it back a little bit and make that 3, yeah, make that 3, that goes back to, what is it? Is it 14? I think it is. 6. Okay. The targeted the targeted creature is cursed. The creature is also cursed with mummy rot. The cursed target cannot regain hit points, and its hit point maximum decreases by 10 for every 24 hours that elapses. The curse reduces the hit points, the target's hit point maximum to 0. The target 0. The target dies, and its body turns to dust. So remove curse is still going to sort of eliminate it, but have we done enough to be able to make this viable as an effect? Let's have a look here. I do go down here a little bit. I get rid of this. 14 plus the 21, if it gets through, that is, equals that. Plus we get one lot of damage from that, plus the 10. 45. It's still too low. Okay, so that, and even if I multiply that by 2, it would only still be what, 35, wouldn't it? 35 multiplied by 2. If 2 hits get through, we get 70. Still not enough damage. And even adding that plus 10, that only gets us here. So that's still not enough. Okay, so we really did need to do this. We need to go up, which means that goes up as well. And I think it is a 24 points of damage? I think that's right. That might be a little bit better now. Dun, 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 dun. Where did I turn off my calculator? Yes, I did. Whoops. Okay. So, 3.5 multiplied by 6 plus 4 equals, it's 25. So that's 25. Sorry, got my maths wrong. So 25 and then the 21 still probably won't be enough. Plus 21 equals that. Then we multiply that by 2 because we've got 2 attacks. 92, and then if we add another 10, it's about 102. Close enough. Close enough. That's better. Get rid of the saving throw. You get hit, you are cursed. End of story. I know there'll be a few people who are not happy about that, but by shielding your Mummy Lord or shielding your player characters by 2 dice rolls, you're probably never going to have to worry about the curse. And getting rid of the curse is super easy. So why are we worrying that much about it? Okay, it really isn't a big issue. I think that's more in line with where we need it to be. That's a lot better. Okay, next off, if we go down, legendary actions. So I do legendary actions differently. Wizards of the Coast has got this 3 legendary actions. Now they're going to reactions rather than legendary actions, which are essentially the same sorting thing. But my opinion is that a Mummy Lord, any legendary monster, for it to be effective, since it often winds up being a solo monster, and even if it's got minions or lieutenants, it's the primary focus. The players will ignore everything else and just hit the Mummy Lord. That's how it works. Okay? Ranged fire, arrows, spells, all going at the Mummy Lord. Marshals are going to move straight for the Mummy Lord. They'll move past the front line if they have to. Okay? And they'll go straight for the Mummy Lord. And they're just going to go unleash it. Fighter's got 2 action surge. You can just take it, this thing, to just rip it apart. So, and they got multiple attacks too. So what we're going to do here is 1 legendary action at the end of each player's turn. That way it's always a viable threat. It always feels like it's doing something in the middle of the battle. So we change the action economy and treat it like a solo monster. That means standard actions. I'm giving it dash, which you should be using pretty much when you need to run, but probably not. Dodge, most important. Use that as soon as you can, often. Grapple, no, not really. Help, yeah, I suppose, but pointless. Search, garbage. Shove, kind of garbage. And use an object I've included just because people talk about them and, you know, think that these are things that should be included in the game to balance out action economy. But in terms of a fight for a monster, they mean nothing. So that's what I've got. Next, basic attacks. The mummy makes one attack with its fists or uses its dreadful glare. Now, I'm fine with it doing it this way. That's all good. That's no problem. I've included spell casting though. Spell casting. The Mummy Lord casts a spell, and I have not stipulated that it must be a certain level because I want it to unload with its best spells first. Okay? It would be ridiculous not to. So we include it. Right now, I want to point out Blinding Dust, Blasphemy's Word, should not be costs to actions. That's garbage. That needs to go. Utter garbage. That's got to go. But I don't want you to just pick the one that's the most powerful. I want it to be able to do different. That should go. Channel negative energy. Get rid of the 2 actions. Whirlwind of Sand should not be 2 actions. Get rid of that nonsense as well. No. There are too many things that it can do on its turn here. You're never going to get a chance to use them. I know they are, what's the word? They're thematic to the mummy. So we won't remove them, but we won't make them that expensive to use because we want you to use them. When the situation arises and it makes sense to use them, I want you to use them. So how do we make that work? I'm going to show you in a second. The Mummy Lord's Lair, it is rated as a challenge rating of 16, which, you know, a Mummy Lord encountered in its lair is supposed to be a 16 rather than a 15. Whatever. Okay. All right. Legendary actions. I don't really care too much about the legendary actions. The only thing I care about is saving throws being way too low. I couldn't care how much damage they do because they're really just a nuisance. So I'm just going to make this an 18. Okay. I'm going to make it standard. It's not really related to the Mummy Lord. It's the lair itself. So I'm going to make it an 18. It's challenge rating 15. It should be an 18. So let's just leave it there. Okay. That's nice and simple. Moving over. Okay. Moving into this. We've got regional effects. And the regional effects, again, I couldn't care less about. Regional effects, regional effects. Let's deal with the nuts and bolts of our legendary actions here. And I need a lozenge. I'm curious as to what spells you've been coming up with, but I want to at least get these done. And I will come back and we'll see what you guys have to say. If I can get through the chat, I will. Okay. I am kind of curious as to what you're up to. Actually, maybe I will do that now. Like, what do you think? What changes need to be made to the legendary actions? Let's do that. Let's do that. Let's ask that next question. That separates the spell question that I put forward, okay? I think that's a good idea. So let's do this. Hashtag. What changes need to be made to the legendary actions? Yeah, you shouldn't ever find the Mummy Lord anywhere else but its lair. I agree. Anyway, we're going to go back to its special abilities, and then I'm going to do its spells, because I'm sure you guys have got a whole bunch of suggestions, which is great. Okay, Blinding Dust. Blinding dust and sand swirls magically around the Mummy Lord. Each creature within 5, really just 5 feet of the Mummy Lord must succeed on a DC. Screw that bullshit. No. 19. Constitution saving throw, or be blinded until the end of the creature's next turn. Okay. That's better. So I guess the question is, since I've done that, is there a point in shifting something up a little bit more? I'm just thinking about this a little bit more. I might move its constitution up a bit as well. No, I don't think it matters. I don't think it matters. Okay, next. So, okay, so this is each creature within 5 feet. I think 5 feet's not far enough. if you're going to use this, you want to be able to affect a bit more. Same thing. Or be blinded until the end of the creature's next turn. The problem with this is the more things we have that finish at the end of somebody's next turn, the more you have to track. And as a game master, I've always found till the end of the next turn to be a complete pain in the ass. It's much easier if until they save, because then you can stack more things on top as you go. So let's go 5 feet to 10 feet. Next turn, again, I'm not a fan of next turn stuff, just because I just find it harder to track. Next, and I don't want you to be using this all the time either, so we need to include another sentence. And it's once per round. I like to include so that we get you to spread out some of the things. You don't just wind up using the same thing over again. You're probably not going to get that many rounds, so you're going to have to make some hard choices. But once per round, I don't want you to use it more than once per round, even as a legendary action. If you've got 5 players, you've got 5 legendary actions. You've got 7 players, you've got 7 legendary actions. So I don't want you using the same thing over and over again. So that's what we're going to do, once per round. This here, I think blasphemy's word, once per round. Okay. The Mummy Lord utters a blasphemous word. Each non-undead creature within 10 feet of the Mummy Lord that can hear the magical utterance must succeed on a DC. Again, this is way too low. 19 Constitution saving throw, or be stunned until the end of the Mummy Lord's next turn. Okay, so now it can stun, but it can't be stunned. Okay, all right. So be it. Next, again, I don't know if I like till the next turn. I always find, is there an easier way to word it so I don't have to keep tracking it? Who's stunned and who's not per round. Okay. Next. Let's move on and do the next one. Storm could be miles away. Legendary actions that were 2 actions, costs maximum of once per round. Yeah, maximum of once per round. Yeah, again, I don't want you to use the same things over and over again. Anyway, here. Make this once per round as well. Once per round. Okay, next. Channel negative energy. The Mummy Lord magically unleashes negative energy. Creatures within 60 feet of the Mummy Lord, including ones behind barriers and around corners, cannot regain hit points until the end of the Mummy Lord's next turn. Okay. It's really strong. It's got 60 feet. It's why it's got such a heavy cost. I want you to, definitely you should be leading with something like this, because this is got a good range. So I'm all good with that. So let's keep going. Whirlwind of Sand, once per round now. Again, I might just highlight the next turn thing. I might have to live the next turn thing. I don't really want to. I would love to make it easier for you to track, because I just feel like there's too many things for you to track here. Whirlwind of Sand. Once per round, the Mummy Lord magically transforms into a whirlwind of sand, moves up to 60 feet, and reverts to its normal form. While in whirlwind form, the Mummy Lord is immune to all damage, so okay, and it can't be grappled, petrified, knocked prone, restrained, or stunned. Well, hang on. We don't need to worry about some of these things. Knocked prone, restrained. Forget about the stunned, because we already covered that. Stunned, it is not going to be stunned by nothing anyway, so or stun or restrained. Restrained. Equipment worn or carried by the Mummy Lord remains in its possession. Remains. How useful is this in a battle? It's very much like the Mummy movies, and you know, it's got that flavour to it. But tactically and practically, how useful is it? Unless it's doing something. So it can move and not take damage. It can move 60 feet. Wonderful. It can't be grappled, petrified, knocked prone, da-da-da-da. It's really just a get out of danger free card. Really, that's all this is a get out of danger free card. While in willowed form, the Mummy Lord is immune to all. I feel like we need a little bit more to this. I don't know that this is enough to warrant it. I mean, the channel negative energy thing is good. The blasphemy word is, I guess, fine, but it's only a single target that it can, well, it's each, 10 feet, I suppose, it can target more than one creature. The blinding dust, again, it's just to make you blind. Blind, stunned, and then you've got these. Again, this is not that good. It's really just to get out of free. You're probably not going to use Whirlwind of Sand much. If anything, you really only, it's ever going to come up marginally. You might see it occasionally, and that's it. There's not much else. Oh, dear. Okay, all right. Okay, I have to think more about this. I'm going to highlight it in yellow because right now I need to get to spells. I'm going to run out of time, and I don't want to run out of time. This is happening today. So, spells and spell casting. For me, spells and spell casting, very important for Mummy Lord, and it is sadly lacking. So we need to beef up our ability to do this. And you guys have been doing some homework, right? If I remember right, I asked a question. I asked for you to make up a list of what you thought were suitable things that it could have. The cantrips that a cleric get are really shite, and so we're going to have to fix some of this. And we're going to have to give them a little bit more stuff, because 2 cantrips is not good enough. That's totally inadequate. And we shouldn't be using that. We should be starting with our level 8 spells. So let's go over and see what you guys have been getting up to. I'm kind of curious. Got that. So Fred Huber, that's been done. I think these abilities should pretty much be combined into a sandstorm the Mummy Lord can summon once per day, and a DC or damage gets higher as rounds. I see. So you're thinking combined it into one feature. Some of these things could just be one feature rather than having 4 or 5 different features. Negative space, I think that's quite smart. I like that idea a lot. I think some of them can be. I think you're right. Is there certain things we could just eliminate and just pull in? I don't know about miles across. What do you get? Samey? If someone closed the distance, the Mummy Lord is dead. Let the blinding condition be permanent unless they use regenerate. Ah. Yeah, I think the storm gets stronger. I think making a stronger storm. I would agree with that. Turn this into moving at 60 feet. It's not restrained. Like whirlwind, yes. Get out of free. Blade barrier. I was wondering if really the whirlwind should do damage as well. It's a good point. Negative space. I think blinding dust and whirlwind are so similar in nature. Is there no way we can simply pull them together? I think that actually is very, very smart. That would make a lot of sense. Even, blasphemy's word, I think there's something to it. I guess it's slightly different. You can stun something, and there's a saving throw for it. But till the end of the next turn, I don't think that's long enough. The negative energy one is probably the one you want to go with first because it's going to cause a lot more trouble. But till the end of the Mummy Lord's next turn, again, is probably not long enough. So, let's think about this. You guys have given me lots to think about with regard to that. I think there's some great suggestions. I like that a lot. So we're back onto spells. I think you're right, though. I think all of you have made some really good points about those special abilities. We need to pull some of these in, and we will. I want to get the spell list sorted, so I'm going back to the spells because I know you guys have got a huge number of suggestions. Control Sand. I don't know what spell is that. Is there a spell called Control Sand? I've never heard Control Sand before. Which book's that in? Does anybody know? Control Sand. Never heard of it. Does it exist? Or do you just make it up? Okay, it doesn't exist. Okay. Ray of Sickness. Ray of Sickness. Primal Savagery. Now, Ray of Sickness... Ray of Sickness is, or what sort of spell is it? And does it fit in? Let's see. Ray of Sickness. Ray. Ray. Ray of Sickness. Here we go. A Ray of Sickness, greenish energy, it's 60 feet, 1 action. It's only a level 1 spell though. Unleashes out towards a creature within. Make a ranged spell attack against the target. On a target takes 2d8 poison damage and must make a Constitution saving throw. It can be cast at higher levels. Okay. Okay, so I think what we would I'll do is Ray of Sickness is not a bad idea. I think you're onto something there. Does it fall under the cleric, or is that not a cleric spell? Ray of Sickness. Ray of Sickness is not on their spell list. They have Bane, Bless, Command. I'm inclined to agree with you though. Ray of Sickness at level 1, Necromancy. It's a good idea. Hello Derp. Derp is also a patron. Nice to have you. Blade Barrier. You reckon Blade Barrier? Okay, back to spells. My spell list is here. Level 1. Level 1. Ray of Sickness. So we're going to add Ray of Sickness on. Ray of Sickness. Yep. And then we have cantrips. The cantrip list is probably one of the worst ones I've seen for any monster, but the problem is we get Guiding Bolt, not going to use it. Light, not going to use it. Mending, no. Resistance, no. Sacred Flame or Sacred Miss. Spare the Dying and Thaumaturgy. None of which calls out to me and says these are really good ideas to include. Frankly, I think they're very bad. So what fits, I think, with this might be to include things like Chill Touch. I would give him Chill Touch. I feel like Chill Touch is a cantrip for this creature. Not bad. I think that's a good... I mean, I know a lot of people don't use it, but Chill Touch. I know that's a sorcery wizard spell, but I'm giving it to them. Next, Firebolt. I don't think so. I think the fire is the last thing it's going to be doing. So, not a chance. Poison Spray is a terrible spell. Ray of Frost. Shocking Grasp. I don't know. Maybe. Thaumaturgy. I just don't see it. It's not a combat spell. Why would you bother? What else is there? Really, we're sitting with Thaumaturgy and maybe Shock and Grasp. I'm not entirely sure I am convinced of those as things that we would want to include. Friends, no. Chill Touch. I think Chill Touch. Blade Ward, Acid Splash. I think Ray of Frost makes more sense, frankly. Okay, we're going to put Ray of Frost. We'll include Ray of Frost. What else is there? That's a cantrip that is actually a spell that you might use in a battle. No. Thorn Whip, no. Poison Spray. I suppose Poison Spray would be a thing, but it's just... It's immune to poison. I suppose it could... Yeah, I suppose it could be a thing. I don't know about Acid Splash, but Poison Spray. Let's give them Poison Spray as well. Prestidigitation, it's really not a combat spell, so I don't know that we need to worry about that. So let's just go with Poison Spray. So we're going to give them 4 attack cantrips. We'll include Sacred Flame. And now we've got Command, Guiding Bolt, Ray of Sickness, Shield of Faith. Shield of Faith is a good spell, but really, if you're getting to this point, I don't think you're ever going to get to these spells anyway. I don't think you're even going to get anywhere near them. The battle will be over. Holy Aura, Unholy Aura, Blade Barrier is a level 6 spell. Is it? Blade Barrier. Whose spell list is it on? Is it on the Wizards one? No. Create Undead. Create Undead is on there, but okay, alright. Next, level 1, Command. I guess so. I'm really not sold on the Guiding Bolt thing. I feel like Bane is a spell it would probably have. I don't know why we don't have Bane there as an option. So let's go Bane. It makes it harder for you to hit rather than being easier. Absolutely. Let's do that one. And then Shield of Faith is more in line. It's a consistent bonus. So that would make more sense. Command. Guiding Bolt. Guiding Bolt's the one that I don't like. Why is it that I don't like this one? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's got 5 of these. I just don't know that Guiding Bolt is a... Every time I've seen Guiding Bolt used, it's been garbage. I know it's a clericy spell, but I don't know why Ray of Sickness is not there. But anyway, this is sort of the opposite of a healer, isn't it? The mummy is like the opposite. So Guiding Bolts, Guiding Bolts, Guiding. Guardians of Faith, no. Where are we? Guiding Bolt, here we go. So, light streaks to a creature of your choice, range, making a DC against the target. On hit, the target takes 4d6 radiant damage. Okay, so this is to do Guiding Bolt, glittering, making it easy to hit next time. Guiding Bolt's really not that great though. 4d6 at level 1. Command, Bane, Guiding Bolt, Shield of Faith. Yeah. And then Ray of Sickness. Okay. I'm getting there, people. I knew that the spells was going to be a bit of a pain. So, Ray of Sickness doesn't really do that much damage. It's really kind of... It's pretty shite, frankly. But it is there. Okay, I have to think about it. These, I'm not too sure I'm sold on. Anyway, Command. The problem is command strong enough to be even worthwhile doing? I feel like command is just maybe just a bit too flee, grovel, saving throw, one word. Yeah, I suppose, but you're never going to use it. You're never going to get that far. Even if you're using a spell every single time you take your legendary action, you're never going to get to these. Hold person, silent. Okay, so this is the next one. Level 2. Level 2, and then we've got here aid, no. Blindness, deafness, calm emotions, continual flame, not a chance. Find traps, oh god. Hold person. At level 2, yeah, I guess so. Less restoration, no, we're not going to do that. Locate object, god. Prayer of healing, no. Protection, no. Spiritual weapon, yeah. Warding bond, and it's got silence here. I'm not against those 3 spells, actually. That's not too bad. Level 2, is there anything that stands out that I feel like they should have? Is there anything that stands out that I think they should have? Level 2. Wizards list. Misty Step, no, not really. Ray of Enfeeblement. Scorching Ray, no. Web, not really. Altar, Lock, Dark Vision, not necessary. Flaming Sphere, again, not a good idea. Gust of Wind. Gust of Wind, potentially. Maybe. Gust of Wind. Anyway, okay, moving along. 3, Animate Dead. Animate Dead, yes. Counterspell, I've added that. It should be there. Dispel Magic, I'm all for that as well. Speak with Dead is not a combat spell, so there's not much point. Dispel Magic, the problem with Dispel Magic is you're not necessarily going to use it in battle anyway. It tends to be used outside of battle more often than not, but it is certainly a way of getting rid of a magical effect if somebody uses it. That would be good. Remove Curse, no, this thing puts curses on you. It's not going to remove a curse. So that doesn't make any sense. Revivify, no, it doesn't bring people back to life that way. It does it the other way. The bad way. So, Tongues and Spirit Guardians. Spirit Guardians is a spell I would consider putting on their list at level 3. Spirit Guardians would be a good addition, in my opinion. Probably over the likes of Dispel Magic. Spirit Guardians is a pretty badass spell. So I'll just leave it on. We'll just give them that one as well. Spirit Guardians. Monsters don't need to follow the player character's rules. 4, Divination. I hate Divination as a spell. Banishment. Banishment's an interesting one. Guardians of Faith. Guardian of Faith. Kind of Spirit Guardians and Guardian of Faith are kind of similar, aren't they? Freedom of Movement, Divination, Death Ward. I feel like Banishment would be a nice addition. Because that's what the players are going to use. They're going to use Banishment. Banishment. Okay, moving along. Quick. Next, Commune. So I'm content. Yeah. So yes, this one, those 2 ones are definitely things I would consider good ones to include. I'm all for those ones. So absolutely, we only really need about 2. Then we've got 6 is Harm. Harm is, okay, somebody had said include Blade Barrier. So 1 is Harm and 1 is Protection. So let's include Blade Barrier. And I'll just check Blade Barrier in a second. Blade Barrier. So whoopsies. So you'd have to pick one or the other. But that's fine. Choices to be made. Blade Barrier. How good is Blade Barrier? It's been a while since I've looked. Blade Barrier. Here we go. So it's a 6th level spell. You create a vertical wall of wall of whirling, razor-sharp blades made of magical energy. The wall appears within range and lasts for the duration. Okay, so it's concentration up to 10 minutes, which is good. You can make a straight wall up to 10 feet long, 20 feet high, and 5 feet thick, or a ringed wall up to 30 feet in diameter, 30 feet high, and 5 feet thick. The wall provides 3/4 cover, okay, alright, to the creature behind it, and its base is difficult terrain. Slashing damage 60-10 on a saving throw. Okay, so when a creature enters the wall's area for the first time on its turn, it starts its turn there. The creature must make a dexterity saving throw or fail save. It takes damage. On a successful save, the creature takes half damage. Okay, I see where you're going. You're trying to set up a perimeter of defense on the Mummy Lord. I kind of get that. That makes sense. If we give it a 7th level spell, what are we going to give? We're not going to give it Firestorm. That would be ridiculous. Regenerate, possibly. Resurrection, divination word, I don't know. Conjure Celestial is an interesting idea, but I think Ethereal, I think Regenerate's actually the spell I would go with. Regenerate. I'm going to see your spell list in a second, people, so don't worry, I'll be looking. And then 8, Holy Aura, no. Earthquake, Control Weather, probably not. Anti-Magic Field. I think Anti-Magic Field's not a bad one. Anti-Magic Field is a bummer for pretty much everything else, though. Control Weather, Earthquake, Holy Aura. I don't know much about Holy Aura. Holy Aura. Holy, where are you? Holy Aura. God, it's expensive. And it's concentration. Light washes out from you and condenses in soft radiance. Yeah, I don't know about that one. Anti-magic. Earthquake. Let's go with anti-magic. Anti-magic field. Anti-magic field. Let's see what anti-magic does. I know it creates but concentration up to 1 hour. And devoid of magical energy. So can't be cast. Lasts for a long time. I think that's probably not a bad spell to include there. Okay, so we need to quickly go through and see what you guys have come up with. I will show you what I've done with that. So I've kind of included a couple of other cantrips that I think are more attack cantrips. I've highlighted the ones where I'm a little bit unsure. I've given them some spells that will do things, but I don't know how useful that will be necessarily. I've given them some stuff that they can do. Some of it does damage, some of it doesn't. But yeah, I think those aren't bad spells to include. I guess it's more about what you guys have added as well. There's a couple of things we need to include, and before I run over of time, I'm going to make sure I put them in, because if I don't, it'll be lost. So I think it's under the Lich, because we did the Lich not that long ago, making a Lich stat block remastered. So when I did the Lich, I gave it a magic item. Here we go, and turn immunity. I gave it turn immunity as a trait. Copy. I'm doing the same thing with the Mummy Lord. I don't want you turning the mummy. That is not going to be an option. It is not a turnable thing. So this one, go down, up, put that there. So that's easy to adjudicate, easy to remember. It just won't work. And then I gave it a magic item. Magic resist. Here, magic item, ring of invulnerability, but I'm not giving it ring of invulnerability. I'm giving it a ring of fire resistance. So we go here, copy. Not resistance, immunity. It would have something like that, I think. And paste. Down. Okay. Magic item. Ring of Fire. Fire. Immunity. Whoopsies. Fire immunity. Okay, so it doesn't have concentration attached to it, so we don't have to worry about it. And forget about that. And it doesn't turn to dust. It just has a ring of fire immunity. Nice and easy to adjudicate. But has ring of fire immunity. So the immunity will override the vulnerability. That'll keep your Mummy Lord rolling and rocking for a little bit longer. Okay, so that's that. Moving down. See if I can fix these things here. I think somebody had mentioned a couple of different things that I was thinking about. And I was like, well, what do I want to do here? So channel negative energy. The Mummy Lord magically unleashes negative energy. The creatures within 60 feet of the Mummy Lord, including ones behind barriers and around corners, can't regenerate. So there's no saving throw. That's why it's till its next turn. So it only lasts for 1 round. And it's going to affect the entire party. That's easy to track. And it's strong. Good. Lovely. Let's take that out. That's fine. I'm all right with that now. Next. Blasphemy's word. The Mummy Lord utters a blasphemous word. Each undead creature within... non-undead creature within 10 feet of the Mummy Lord that can hear the magical utterance must succeed on a DC 19 Constitution saving throw or be stunned until the end of the Mummy Lord's next turn. This is very situational. It's really only going to apply that something that got right up in its face. The saving throw itself, the Mummy Lord's next turn. Okay, so now I kind of see where it's going here. It could affect the front line. They're going to be shut down if this works. Okay, again, fine. This is where I think this is unnecessary. Blinding dust. Blinding dust and sand swirling around the Mummy Lord. Each creature within 10 feet of the Mummy Lord must succeed on a DC 19 Constitution saving throw or be blinded. This is where I want to pull this ability. Take this and cut it. And ditch this. Because there's too many things going on. There's too many things to pick from. You've got spells as well. You don't need all this stuff. Wheel of sand, transform to a whirling wind, moves up to 20 feet and reverts to its normal form while in its wheel of sand, into all damage and can't be grappled, petrified, knocked prone, or restrained. Yes, okay, so next, add into here. Paste. Each creature each creature, the whirlwind each creature, the whirlwind of sand moves through must succeed on a DC 19 Constitution saving throw or be blinded for 1 minute. No repeat save. That's it. You are just blinded. And I think that's fine. That's pretty strong. You're only going to get to it once a round. It's no guarantee that it's going to work and do that. It's not just an escape, it's also to mess up the players. That there, shut down regaining hit points. So that's a bad thing. Don't want that. Is there anything else? It doesn't do any damage. Okay, alright. And then the blasphemous word is really just a stun effect. Yeah, I'm not completely... I have to say, I'm not completely sold on all of this. And this one, the dreadful glare... I hate the next turn thing. I really hate this. Or become frightened until the next... okay. Same throw for the duration. So here we go. It must succeed on a DC 19 Wisdom saving throw against the magic, or become frightened until the end of the mummy. Frightened for 1 minute. Paralyzed, the same duration. And I think that's what I'm doing. I'm going to make this dreadful glare a little bit stronger. It's a little bit stronger. It doesn't have the same range, but it's stronger. Okay. Yeah. I think that's roughly where it needed to be. I will leave these. I'm not sold on these in terms of damage output, in terms of spells, but I can live with it. I think their strength saving throw is too low, so I'm really wanting to do something with that. I think I'm going to leave it for now. Have I done the major things that I was really concerned about? Still don't think that this is a very easy stat block to run. I don't really particularly like the Mummy Lord. This is certainly better. Is it enough? That's the question. I mean, honestly, that is the huge question. Is that going to be good enough to get the job done? Will it make an exciting battle with your player characters? And I don't know that it will. Okay, all right. So I need to at least review it. I'm going to go through all of the spells you suggested and all your suggestions probably later on. I'm going to get a chance and sort of review stuff a little bit more. But for now, I think we're going to stick with what I've got. And then, yeah, obviously we'll come back to this if I have to. But I don't know what else to sort of say other than that's the best I can do in roughly 2 hours. I think that there's probably a lot more design required on the Mummy Lord for it to actually sort of work the way it needs to. Anyway, what can I say? Let me just quickly look and see how we're doing with chat, and then I'll do a review of what we've covered. God, there is so much feedback. You guys have really given me... There's really a lot to think about, a lot to consider. So I'm really interested to see how it all pans out. You'll never know until you test it. Every time I test these things, yeah. Anti-field shuts the Mummy Lord down. I was thinking that too, but I just don't know what to do with the level 8 Sunburst. I don't know why you would use Sunburst though. I'm going to go through your spell lists and have a look and see what else we can do, but yeah. A level 8 spell that would be suitable is a big, huge question for me. Anyway, yeah, all right. Let's review what we've done so far, and see if this works for people. I don't know. Yeah, hopefully I remember everything. Okay, where is it? So remastering the Dungeons & Dragons 5e Mummy Lord. This is what I've done. And I've run the Mummy Lord a few times now. I've never really been able to get it to work right. The only thing I've ever found that worked really well was giving it a ring of fire immunity, which I've done today. So the armor class was kind of low. It was only a 17. I've made it an 18. I've pushed it a little bit higher and just said that they have magical bandage armor, okay? Its hit points were horrendously low, and I've pushed it way up to the average being 178, but maximum, I would go with maximum hit points at 287. I think that's much more sensible. I haven't changed its speed. I'm happy with the speed being the same. I found that the wisdom being an 18 is too low. I pushed it to a 20. Your players are facing the Mummy Lord, who's challenge rating 15. They're going to be at least level 15 or higher. So level 15, it should be a challenge for them. But it won't be if we don't do something about that. So I've changed that. I've given them a saving throw proficiency to dexterity because it's too easy to take them out that way. They are still very weak against strength as a saving throw. The other ones aren't great, but at least they're slightly paired up. Unfortunately, as a legendary monster, this has got too many vulnerabilities in terms of saving throws. History and religion, I just left them alone. I didn't think they needed to muck with that. The fire vulnerability, the damage vulnerability to fire is a huge problem. So I've included a ring of fire immunity to counteract the vulnerability that this monster has, because usually this monster won't even last one round. Usually it's obliterated. So to get with that problem, if they can take off the ring or cut the ring free, then of course it will become vulnerable to fire and then it'll be taken out a lot faster. Hopefully they can't do that too easily though. Its damage immunities, I pretty much left them the same. I didn't mess with them. Condition immunities, I was fine with pretty much everything. The only thing is I included stunned. I don't want a monk to be able to stun this thing or any sort of spells. I think that's ridiculous. Dark vision, it doesn't have eyes anymore. It doesn't really have ears anymore. It's all rotted away. You know, they're not functional. It's not biologically functional. So blind vision didn't, blind sight meant more like it. That's more falling in line with it doesn't use that. It's using magical senses. Dark vision, it didn't make sense. So I gave it blind sight up to 120 feet, which is superior to what your player characters are dealing with. Passive perception was a 14, now a 15. I left the languages, don't worry about that. The challenge rating stays the same. Proficiency bonus was all right. It didn't have a legendary resistance. I given one legendary resistance per round that it can save on. Okay. I'm not going to give you a number to track. I think that's a ridiculous thing to do. Magic resistance still exists, so you get to have advantage on saving throws against spells and other magical effects. Rejuvenation, pretty much left the same. I don't think I changed anything around that, so that's all good. That's fine. I've given it turn immunity. I don't think it should be able to be turned. It's got marked down Lich, but it should be the Mummy Lord. Sorry about that. I've given it the ring of immunity, of fire immunity, as I mentioned before. The Mummy Lord, instead of being a 10th level spellcaster, it's now a 15th level spellcaster. I've given it a lot more spells. I want it to have a chance to do something. The DCs have been changed. It was way too low. It should have at least been an 18. I've made it a 19. Its attack bonus was still too low. I've pushed it, it could be a 10 for that level, but I've pushed it to an 11. So I made it just a fractionally more powerful than it was before. That doesn't push it out of the challenge rating zone as far as I'm concerned. Cantrips, a lot of its cantrips were kind of sucky. I gave it Chill Touch, Poison Spray, Ray of Frost. Sacred Flame is Sacred Miss. It's all right, but it's not a great, frankly, if you're playing you're never going to use these spells anyway. If you're using these spells, you're using the wrong ones. First level spells, Bane, Command. I added Bane. Command was already there. Guiding Bolt, I'm not convinced by. Ray of Sickness, it's all right. Shield of Faith is a reasonable spell, but I'm pretty sure it's concentration, so that can be a problem. Second level spells. Hold Person's all right. Silence and Spiritual Weapon, I think they're all fine. The third level slots. Animate Dead, good. Didn't have Counterspell. Should have Counterspell. Don't know why you'd bother with Dispel Magic if Counterspell is around. So I left them with both. Spirit Guardian seemed like a no-brainer to include as well. So I've put that there. Fourth level. I gave them Banishment. I think Divination is a terrible spell, but I don't know what to do with it. Guardian of Faith it's all right. It's all right. I suppose it fits. Fifth level spells. Contonation. God, I can't say it. It's the thing that makes you sick. Insect Plague, they all sort of fit. I've added the The harm was there. That was fine. But blade barrier, I thought was a good idea. Somebody had suggested it for level 6. That's good. Regeneration, I'll regenerate at level 7. Anti-magic at level 8. I'm not too sold on this. It might be a problem for the Mummy Lord to have anti-magic, but I don't know what else to replace it with. That's the problem. Next, multi-attack. It had that dreadful glare and 1 rotting fist. I've given it 2. I've increased the damage. I didn't worry about the melee weapon strike, so I've left it at a +9. But the damage output is now 25 on average for the bludgeoning, and necrotic is still 21. But there's 2 attacks rather than just 1 attack. And the saving throw that was tied to this to do the rotting, no, that is gone, okay? Your player characters at level 15 can figure out how to get rid of this rotting effect on them. So we want it to work with 1 dice roll rather than making 2 dice rolls where it's probably never going to come into play. This has always happened to me. I find that I never get the rotting fist to work properly. So no saving throw, just make the attack roll. The damage output for it is just 10 on average after every 24 hours, so it's not a big deal if you ask me. Dreadful glare, change the DC to a 19. I think that's much more suitable for what we really wanted. I don't think I changed much more than that. Legendary actions, I've given it 1 legendary action at the end of every player's turn. Okay, every player turn, you finish, you do something. You can use all your standard actions: dash, dodge, grapple, help, search, shove, use an object. Most of those are a complete waste of your time, but they're there. Basic attack, you can make 1 attack with your rotting fist or use your dreadful glare again if you want to. You can cast a spell as a legendary action. I would start at level 8 with your spells. Don't start down the bottom, okay? Start high and just work your way down from the high level spells to the low level spells. Blasphemy's word, change the DC to a 19. Change the range, I think. No, the range is the same, isn't it? It's still 10 feet. And it's all right. I think I guess it's a reasonable feature. Once per round, though. There's no, you have to spend so many legendary actions on it. Screw that. You get to use it once per round. Channel negative energy once per round. None of this cost in terms of action points again. Screw that. Gone. Other than that, I don't think I changed anything else around that. I think that's basically it. Whirlwind of Sand once per round. I think this is really just a get out of free. I've pulled it in with the other ability that it had, which is basically the Blinding Dust. Blinding Dust and Whirlwind of Sand are now 1. They do something similar, because Whirlwind of Sand was really just a getaway feature, and I don't want it just to have a getaway feature. I want it to get away and do something nasty. So now there's a DC 19 Constitution saving throw, or you're blinded for 1 minute. There's no repeat saving throw. That's it. It just lasts for 1 minute. That's bad for high level characters, but it might actually give the Mummy Lord chance to do something before it's toast. Or maybe you'll defeat the party. I doubt it. Level 15 characters they're tough. Anyway, lair actions. I didn't do much in terms of changing things. I did change the DC for one of the features. I made it an 18, the Constitution saving throw, for the last feature that it has. It seemed to make sense to me. I think the DCs were set way too low for this creature. And then the regional effects, I didn't really see much point in changing anything there, so I didn't. So that is the Mummy Lord. Is it perfect? Absolutely not. Does it need work? I think it definitely does. This is certainly an improvement, but that wouldn't be hard to improve on what was there before. So yeah, there you go, the Mummy Lord. Okay, so I'm going to have to get out of here and go to work, do some stuff in a different place. I will obviously have to go through and do a little bit of adjustment, and I will. And I think the spells are part of the problem. The special features, I'm still not happy with the way that they track. Like they feel like they give you too much homework to do as a dungeon master, honestly. Yeah, Fred Huber, you're right. There's enough to test for now, but I'm still not happy with it. And I suspect that I'm going to have to make further adjustments in the future. I will still put up the first draft up onto Patreon at the end of the week. Okay? Yeah, I've been talking for almost 2 hours. I can barely say anything properly now. So my ability to comprehend anything is gone. So so I will have to go back through the chat and have a really hard look at some of these spells. Probably I will chat with AJ Pickett, and he's usually pretty good at sort of suggesting stuff. Yeah, I'm sure I will talk with some of you in Discord as well about what needs to be done to make that a more viable monster. What am I doing in the future? I have no idea, but I'm sure it'll be something that needs work. Anyway, I need to get going, go to work. So thank you for everybody who's been watching and listening. Thank you to everybody who took part in the poll. Thanks to all my patrons. I really do appreciate it. I want to also say that those of you who have been in chat suggesting your ideas, if you feel like I did not acknowledge you, it was not intended. I'm just running out of time. There's so much work to do with the Mummy Lord, and there's so much going on. The stat block is massive. I think it's even more complicated than running a dragon in 5e, the Mummy Lord. It's so complicated, so I just didn't get a chance to respond to everything you had to say. Don't feel bad about that. It's not me ignoring you. It's just I need to get things done in a timely manner, and I can't sit here for 2 hours or 3 hours or 4 hours doing this sometimes. Finger of Death. Actually, it's not a bad idea. Finger of Death. Yeah. Somebody said Blight. I don't know where to put Blight. I'll figure it out. Anyway, wherever you are in the world, whether it be the morning, the afternoon, or the night, please look after yourself, your family, and friends. Be nice to your neighbours. And hey, till next time, keep rolling those 20s.